Hey everybody, welcome back to IDP Plus Trends. I am your co-host tonight at Johnny Freak in F1. I'm partnered here with my boy from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, Steve at AVG Joe's _FF. Steve, welcome back, man. Missed you last week. How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I wish I was there. Been crazy last couple of weeks. You got end of school year for kids. You got, summer's getting ready to start. I've been good. I've been jamming to that new Darren Waller song. So it's been great. If you haven't heard it, make sure you check it out. It's been fantastic. It's on been repeat. Don't get used to it being a Grammy winner, but it's been a fantastic song.
Hey, it's about time Darren Waller made some headlines in some way, huh? I haven't listened to it myself, so I'll have to hop off here after and crank that up real loud. But so tonight's episode, we're going to talk about some things that are happening in the offseason, specifically today. It's Thursday, May 30th, about to be June. So while it's still May, enjoy your May for the last remaining hours. And wow, it's June already. It's almost redraft season. Got a lot of dynasty startups coming out this time right now. And tonight we're going to talk about some offensive news and some defensive news. We got some injuries to talk about, some injuries that have happened and maybe haven't happened but are inevitable. Then we have some signings to talk about on the offensive side. So before we kick off, I wanted to mention we have a promo right now with Trophy Smack. If you haven't went to Trophy Smack, checked out their wide selection of trophies, go ahead and do that. But right now, it's draft season, folks. Get ahead of the game with Trophy Smack's gorgeous draft boards, complete with player stickers so deep you couldn't possibly need them all. And for the first time, Trophy Smack has an IDP expansion pack for all of our defensive nerds out there like myself and Steve. So check out the link in the show notes and get your trophy board, your gorgeous draft board today. So moving right into our offensive injuries, Steve. A big one that's kind of, been predicted by a lot of people now for quite some time. Kyren Williams, we finally see it before the season even starts. This is not good. He has a foot injury. The coaches call it minor. He's right now he's working out, so that's a silver lining. So it seems like things are right on a good trajectory. We're here in the end of May, so we're going to assume that he is healthy going into the offseason. But what do you make of this Kyren Williams injury?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like, let's think about the Ravens situation. You have every year the Ravens have a running back that's hurt, and the Rams have kind of had that bad luck as well. The last couple of years, and you got a running back who kind of came out of nowhere. I think a few people obviously knew of Kyren and had him on their taxi squad in Dynasty, or maybe you just drafted him because you're in a deep league and redraft, but he kind of came out of nowhere, took over the role. Essentially, Cam Akers was gone due to it. And Kyren was, amazing. I think he was one of the running backs besides Christian McCaffrey that was on most winning teams when it came at the end of the year. So that was huge, but he had a lot of touches, more than he had obviously had experience. Now you got an injury, and I know they're not saying it's serious, but the fact is there was an article out there that they're already talking to Blake Corum as far as being an all-around back, like being that third down back, being able to receive the ball. Because there might actually be an opportunity for Corum where I think a lot of people hated this spot, right? A lot of people were like, why did you just draft him? But I think there was a reason they drafted him. They may have known about this current situation before anybody had even heard anything. I'm not sure how true that might be, but the fact that you drafted him might be something that they've been kind of worried about. And again, I think most people kind of held off on drafting Corum. I think he kind of fell, in most drafts, mid to late second round because of the situation. And now I would say if you're doing a rookie draft now, I'm guarantee you he's getting drafted a lot higher than he was earlier in May, just because of the news that's going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like Blake Corum, a lot of people thought it was a bad landing spot. I think all those people at the same time, they did recognize that if the reason why is because Rams don't, quite frankly, use the number 2 back. But if there were a time where Kyren, I'm sure a lot of people out there right now are like, I knew it was happening. Kyren got hurt. Of course, Blake Corum was going to be in a great landing spot. Look what happened to Kyren, when Cam Akers got hurt or left the team, So there's a void there to fill. And if Kyren's not there in any capacity, whether it be from this injury or the next, I think Blake Corum's at least in a smash opportunity. I couldn't call him a smash play yet, but definitely a prime opportunity, and that's what you're looking for half the time in fantasy football. So definitely Blake Corum's numbers are going to go up. I agree with that, and they rightfully should. He's definitely a guy that I wouldn't call him a first round investment in your rookie startups, but definitely second round. Now I'm sure that you're going to see him start to creep in the first round due to this injury, rightfully so. But yeah, Blake Corum, I definitely like him. I still actually at the same time I like this noise from Kyren, because like a lot of people have been talked down on him, and now you throw this injury in there, it's like his draft stock's really going to fall. And he's somebody who I still like. If he was going like in startups, end of second round, early third round, now he's probably going mid third round, early third round at the earliest. I'm jumping all over that. I know there's risk, but I've seen the rewards too. And if he comes back, boom, the number one running back is going to get the carry. So a little bit of a silver lining in that situation too with Kyren. But now we have from the Jets, we also have Mike Williams not practicing till training camp. That's what we're hearing. He tore his ACL last year for the Chargers mid-season. I wouldn't say mid, but early in the season. So now it's maybe not as scary to think, because this is just the way the timeline of the injury unfolds. But he's missing critical reps here with Aaron Rodgers as the starting quarterback. Is it going to affect you think things early on for Mike Williams?
I mean, it could. You're obviously. I think it's more so just, think about Aaron Rodgers. He's one that, like, once he establishes who his guys are, his guys get taken care of. If you're, new to the team, you're a free agent, you're a rookie, and you haven't established anything over the offseason and any of the OTAs, mini camps, training camps, or whatever, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get that type of looks, trust, things like that during the season. That takes some time. Like, Aaron Rodgers is he's very specific when it comes to his receivers. So I will say this. I was never crazy about the signing. I get why they did it. They wanted a nice big receiver opposite of Garrett Wilson. Because last year it was just Garrett Wilson and then a bunch of random old people that showed up on the team, because Lazard was irrelevant. Randall Cobb should never have been signed. There wasn't a lot to offer. So I get why they went after Mike Williams, but Mike Williams has never really had a healthy season. I think he's had one fully healthy season since being a pro. So there's always that injury bug that seems to be following him. So sure. I thought that was a bad signing in the first place. But I will say, it's something you and I talked about, Malachi Corley, this is a great opportunity for him to grow, get those reps in with Aaron, could sneakily become the wide receiver too. Like, Garrett Wilson's already talked highly of him. Says he looks great in camp. I know he's kind of banged up, but he's a rookie. He's got to get adjusted and used to that. But man, Malachi is somebody that I've been really high on. I've been able to get him in the third round in almost every rookie draft I've done, and I'm okay with sitting him for a year or so. He may even end up going off my taxi onto my actual roster. But I like that. I like what he was able to do. I thought, man, the fact that I see him continuously falling into the third round was crazy to me, because I think he ends up being the wide receiver too for this Jets offense. And if Rodgers stays healthy, and this offense can be amazing.
Yeah, well, speaking of Corley, you saw that Aaron Rodgers said that he was his favorite wide receiver in this whole draft class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that's a little bit of smoke there.
Yeah, I mean, look at last year. Stroud was talking highly and wanted Tank Dell.
Good point.
They drafted him, and instantly Dell became a star. So that could mean something.
So maybe if this whole quarterback thing doesn't work out for Aaron Rodgers, he could be a pretty darn good recruiter, huh?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I think he's going to be vice president next.
There was a video that surfaced of him throwing the ball in practice, and it seemed like a lot of people thought that he was having issues with that injury, that Achilles injury, but it turned out it was the other leg first and foremost. With this Aaron Rodgers, not even injury that happened yet. Steve, I wasn't on the surface too worried about it. I thought it was just like a video that people got wrong, or, we're looking at him under the microscope. But tell our viewers and listeners why you think it might be a bit of a concerning aspect here.
Yeah, I mean, just like anything, any injury you have, your other parts of your body are taking some of that extra blunt and extra like for example, your Achilles, those are your legs you're dealing with. So it's like you're going to put a little more pressure on the opposite side. You're going to be a little more cautious of the one that was off of surgery and rehabbing and things like that. I mean, he's probably his other Achilles is probably fantastic, but you're an older quarterback. That, especially his right leg, that's the leg that helps him get the ball off. So you're probably putting a little more pressure. The fact that the video does show him kind of looking at his near his heel, he's rubbing it. The trainer's kind of sitting there. He did finish practice, which is good news. Nothing was torn or anything like that. So it just could be a little extra wear and tear, just kind of getting back into camp, getting used to it. And then again, I think because he might consciously thinking about it in the back of his head of his other Achilles, he just might be kind of put a little more bruising on that side. I'm not overly concerned, but it's not like he's 25. Someone I can speak just from my own experience, getting older, your body does take a little bit more time to rehab and just get better. Like you can't just sleep it off after a few hours. It's not the same. So those type of things, it's something he has to, and he's got amazing staff. It's not like, me, a peon who, has to go to the local healthcare. He's got some amazing trainers. So like, I'm not too concerned, but I'm hoping the Jets do realize like there's always that chance of no Aaron Rodgers and you can't repeat what you did last year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, that's a big blow if they lose Rodgers. And like you said, with some of those receivers there, if you lose him, it's not like you have Jake Browning, a competent backup. Who knows who's coming in at this point, and that really would take a dip for all skill positions stocks there. So definitely concerning with Rodgers, even though there's no injury to be reported just yet. Before we move into the offensive signings, I wanted to mention right now at IDP Plus, we are offering a promo for our rookie guide. So the 2024 rookie guide is live and ready to download on the site for a limited time price of $9.99. So get the IDP Plus rookie draft guide right now for $10 and get updates every Friday as the NFL draws near. Check out the link in the show description and download your copy today from the IDP Plus team. So moving on to offensive signings, we got a big one, breaking the bank. Jaylen Waddle here for Miami, 3-year, $85 million. This is a lot of money. I got a lot of questions on this one. My first question, and probably the most pertinent, is: do you think that with this Jaylen Waddle signing, is does that make it any tougher for Tua to get locked up, or you still think he's going to get his?
No, I do think Tua still gets his. I do think, like Dallas is doing, they're kind of like wait and see, how this season goes. People forget 2 years ago, Tua obviously had the concussion scares, like it was almost career ending. So he had his full healthy last season. He did a lot to help his neck, his helmet, so there were a lot of things that was great to see. I do expect that to be another reason why they are going again into the season without a new contract. It's risky, when you got to pay a quarterback, and whether you agree with it or not, some of these guys who you may not think is an elite quarterback, they're not top 10. At the end of the day, they're still going to get paid. It's just the way the world works in the quarterback space. Like, these guys are going to get paid in good amount of money, and they're going to take up a good portion of your salary cap. And the fact is, like Dallas Cowboys, for example, you're not paying your quarterback. Understand they're going to be more expensive next season because the cap continues to go up, and those guys are continuously breaking contracts every single year. Like, it's just record breaking. Like, it's the same, we could talk about when we talk about some of these other signings that haven't happened yet. It's tough. I get why they got Waddle, though. It's smart to do that. You've got a couple years left for Tyreek Hill, lock in your wide receiver too. It's smart. And it's like more of those, like, in good faith, right? Like Amon-Ra signed his big contract earlier this offseason. So yeah, I mean, so some of these guys absolutely deserve it, and you can tell the teams want them, which does beg to differ some of the other players that haven't been signed, some big receivers. So, and that's going to play a factor, like with what Waddle just signed is going to be a huge thing when it comes to the rest of these receivers that have not signed their contracts yet.
Sure. Well, definitely, it's nice to see that Miami got those 2 receivers for at least a few more years. Now, while we're on the topic of Miami wide receivers here, if you had to draft 3, this is maybe more of a question for dynasty than redraft right now. I know training camp hasn't even happened yet, but if you had to draft, I want to know, you have to draft 3 Miami wide receivers, PPR, and 1, 2, and 3. What order are you going there? The whole depth chart's open for you.
Obviously you got Tyreek Hill's 1, Waddle's 2. The third one's interesting because I secretly am a Braxton Berrios guy, but I don't think he even stretches into the wide receiver 3 spot in that one. I do like his ability.
Return yards.
Yeah, I do like his ability. Because then you got behind that, you got obviously Odell, who I think is, I hate to say it, washed. He's pointless.
Yeah.
Malik Washington and Taj Washington. I don't know. Between both of those, you got the Washington guys that could end up being a nice third spot. Yeah, I think, I'm trying to think I think based off depth chart, I think they're ranking at what, Tyreek and then Waddle, Odell. I think even Berrios is 4th, I think, at this point. And then I think it's Malik after that. And then Taj. But I like both Malik and Taj. I'm putting my vote of confidence into Braxton Berrios.
Okay.
I think Odell is just.
I was in a 18-person league last year, and he was actually a flex position for some guy, and he had weeks where he had 10 or more. So Braxton Berrios can definitely get it done, especially if you're in a return yards league.
And their wide receiver coach is Wes Welker.
Good point.
Berrios plays that role real well.
Yeah, he does. So maybe he picks it up where he left off last year. But yeah, the name you said, Malik Washington, that's a guy who I wanted to talk about as far as who I would take as the number 3 there. I'm not taking Odell. I agree with you. I think it's smoke. It's not going to turn into anything consistent wise, at least. And quite frankly, I don't think that the number 3 is going to be too consistent there as far as solid, fantasy play, maybe consistent. Braxton Berrios 8-10 points. So that might be as good as it gets, but I'm willing to stick my neck out and take the rookie. Hey, maybe I drop this guy in week 2 because he has no catches, maybe. But at the same time, he's a fast guy. He's quick, but like his whole game isn't really all that about speed as it is like a great route runner, great hands for a little guy, and maybe he fits that slot role well. Maybe he's like a poor man's Brandon Cooks. He can carve out a role on this team. I just like Malik Washington. I think if there's somebody like a Jarvis Landry or Brandon Cooks type of slot player there, I know Brandon Cooks sometimes plays on the outside, but maybe a poor man's Jarvis Landry or Brandon Cooks in there. I mean, he's a little guy and sure-handed, so hopefully this is definitely a name I'm even going to be considering in redraft and see if it pans off. I think Jaylen Waddle started off his career there in Miami as a rookie with like a 57-yard touchdown, if I remember correctly, 2 touchdowns maybe that game. So maybe Washington or the other Washington, Taj, hits in this big way. And, these rookies, it's a crazy time in the NFL where rookies do perform. There's consistently year after year in the top 5, top 10 wide receivers, there's a rookie there. So maybe not to say over Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison, but I think he can make some noise as a rookie. So I want to put him on the map too by that question. So moving on away from Jaylen Waddle, we have another big wide receiver signing, and that's Nico Collins. And Waddle got $85 million. Here's Nico also on a 3-year deal. He gets $13 million less at 72. So Nico Collins, this is a guy who, if you would have said last year at this point, he's going to get a 3-year, $72 million contract, a lot of people would have stopped listening to you on YouTube. But here we are. This is the real world we're living in. And Nico Collins, do you think this is a little bit of an overpayment for 1 year, or do you think this speaks to the chemistry him and CJ Stroud have developed?
I don't think it's an overpayment. It is something they do have to worry because he obviously, again, coming into the league, he had some injuries. I liked Nico, his body of work in college, his ability to go up and get the ball, like his route running. He is the clear-cut wide receiver 1, and I think he always had that ability. He just didn't have the chance to really show it off. So last year was his opportunity. And I think that signing kind of dictates and kind of tells everyone like Nico's their wide receiver 1, Dell's their 2, and then Diggs is their 3. Even though I think Diggs is going to outperform Dell, but that's a different story. But I do think Nico is their clear-cut wide receiver 1. And it's good to see him get that signing because there was a chance that if he hadn't performed last season, he was going to be off the team at that point. Like it was going to happen. I mean, there was a lot of wait and see. And I kind of think of like Rashad Bateman. Bateman's kind of the same way with the Ravens. Like they hype him up every year, they hype him up, then injuries. And then it just hasn't gotten to him. And that was kind of the same way about Nico, and then Nico finally got to have that type of year, which, I'm hoping and praying because I've been going after Rashad Bateman off season. Like I'm hoping that's the same type of concept because Bateman, I think, is very similar in that aspect where I think he can show up and be like, man, where was this guy the whole time? So I'm happy for him. I'm glad for him. I think it's smart, because they're renting Diggs this season. Get Nico signed now. You got a good price for him. They got it before Waddle's deal because I think he would have got paid more than Waddle. And now it gives you time, a couple more years. And then obviously eventually you're going to have to pay CJ Stroud that ridiculous $500 million contract. Let's be honest. So.
Yeah. And good comparison there between the two players, Collins and Bateman there. I'm going to actually add him to our queue in that 42-man dynasty startup we're in right now in round 29. So now I'm just playing with you. I'll let you have that one. That's your call. But I do like the Bateman comparison, and I'd maybe take a chance on Bateman too in dynasty. Everyone's forgot about him. He's not too old yet, and he clicked well in his rookie year. So definitely maybe could have a Nico Collins effect there in Baltimore too. So nice bringing him up. And then finally, our last signing. This is no this is no vet multi deal, but this is a rookie. We have signed a rookie contract, and there's a bunch of rookies signing their contract right now. But one we wanted to talk about is Marvin Harrison Jr. Steve, and you want to tell our viewers and listeners why is that?
It was just a big deal because there was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of people were like, you couldn't buy his jersey. There was stuff going on with the NFLPA. Heck, there was even a legal issue technically with some like the trading cards. Like there was a lot going on. It was just kind of disappointing because you've got such a highly touted receiver coming to the league, someone who's a legacy player who's got a great their dad was an amazing player, Hall of Famer, and everyone's just super excited. And I couldn't imagine as an Arizona fan, you're like, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. and you're like, oh, let me go to NFL Shop and his jersey's not there. And I think there was a lot of rumblings, right? There were a lot of people. I saw too many comments. People like, oh, he's a rookie. Why is he acting like this? But you have to understand, and you can't forget, his dad played in the league. His dad knows this league. He's doing what is right for Marvin, for Jr., and essentially saying to get him his pay, and being set for the rest of his life and his family and so on and so forth. So I don't hate the move. I'm glad he got it done. I'm glad the Arizona fans can get their Marvin Harrison Jr. jerseys. I'm glad that he's able to get on the field and start getting that chemistry with Kyler Murray. But it is unique, right? Because a lot of these other top players in the draft already signed. They're ready. They're going. They're moving. And Marvin Harrison just kept coming out with all these other issues. And too many people were just like already tired of him. And he hasn't gotten to the league. But again, his dad knows this league. His dad's not going to set his son up for failure. So it is a little different, but that's okay, but it's a good signing. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad this guy's ready to go and get that chemistry going with Kyler and, start winning some games for me in some dynasty leagues.
Yeah. And I think if his father was like a high school gym teacher who, didn't play in the NFL, maybe it's a different story, him coming out and being bold like that, but being Marvin Harrison Sr., understand with it, where the mind's at. So definitely nice to see him sign his rookie contract, go buy his jersey now while we're on the topic. Hopefully has a great rookie season. But in other notes, I wanted to mention one other situation here. I wanted to get your opinion on it, Steve. I read a report about Samaje Perine in Denver. Of course, running back there, expected, or I wouldn't say expected to be, but expected to be on the roster bubble. Not exactly expected to be cut, but on the roster bubble. First off, I wrote him off. Is this a guy you're writing off? And at the same time, how will this affect the backfield there? We know we have Javonte Williams as the lead dog as of right now. We have Estime, a rookie. We have Jaleel McLaughlin, undrafted free agent last year, who showed spark. So what do you make of this backfield situation right now?
Yeah, Perine's definitely if he was gone, it's not going to be something I think Denver misses. He had dealt with some injuries last season, which gave McLaughlin the opportunities, and he actually showed up really well. I mean, he was one of those waiver guys that you grabbed towards the end of the season to help you win a couple games here or there because he had showed up. It is an interesting backfield because you got Javonte Williams, who's essentially playing for his job in contract, whether it be with Denver or another team, because his rookie contract's coming up soon. He has not performed to the level that everyone had expected. Let's be honest. I mean, everyone can talk about how, I wrote him up. Javonte Williams was somebody that everyone was talking about. You should trade for, get after him, go grab him, blah, blah, blah. And now you could trade him for, I may not even give off a 3rd round pick for him. Like that's where he's at right now. And so there's a high chance that he doesn't have a full season, which then gives McLaughlin the opportunity to be the strong RB2/RB1 in certain days. And I'm a big Estime fan. I think he's going to show up really well. He's somebody you should easily grab in your rookie drafts. Don't grab him in the 2nd round, but grab him in your 3rd, 4th round if you have 4th rounds. Sit him on your taxi because he's a nice little bowling ball. He's got the power. He has the ability to be a change of pace for this team. He may even still have some ability to, whether McLaughlin even does well or not, but he's a nice little sleeper to grab, to stash for your team. So it's interesting. Like I'm expecting this to be a full, this could be a trio backfield. Like I don't expect it to just be a 1-2 punch. Like, cause I think Denver's got a lot to figure out, and I remember the years when the Saints had success, they had Kamara, right. And Mark Ingram, they used 2 backs all season.
Yeah.
And Peyton could do that same type of thing. Use Estime and use McLaughlin, or use Estime and Javonte, or, because Javonte and McLaughlin are very similar backs, but they could do something very similar. Have that 2 backfield. Like I don't expect one of these guys to be the RB1 and get, it's not going to be a 70-30 share or even a 60-40. Like it's going to be that 50-55, type of share. So, yeah, those are the 3 to own and have, but don't expect much out of them. Like they're not somebody I'm putting out on my RB2, or not even like maybe some flex play. We'll see. We'll see the PPR.
We know Javonte's price tag's higher, the highest of those 3. Then we have Estime, and you'd assume that he'd probably go a little bit before McLaughlin, right now in redraft. I'm talking just redraft. If you had to take 2 of these guys, would you pay the price tag for Javonte? Would you try to poach two lesser guys for lesser price later? How would you approach this? If you're trying to get shares of that backfield and 2 guys are there, which 2 are you taking based on price?
I'm getting McLaughlin. He's going to be the one that I could get later in the draft, and I won't feel bad if he doesn't end up doing anything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to pay for much for him. Like Javonte, because of his name and the expected RB1 role, he's still going to go fairly high. He's going to be he's going to fall in that RB dead zone that everyone knows about, like in redraft. Like he's going to be in that type of window, that 6th to 8th round, where he'll end up falling. I would rather grab McLaughlin in the 11th, 12th round in a draft, or even later, depending on how things fall, because I think he'll have a better chance of having success. And again, I didn't pay a lot for it.
Right. That's where I'm at too. I think one of those 2 later, that's why I'm safe. I'd say I'd take both of the later guys. At least one of them I think will have value. Don't really know at this point which one it is. We'll see as we get closer to training camp. Yeah. But yeah, Estime also is coming off a minor knee scope, so see how he bounces back when he gets the pads on. But definitely, I would not be. I'm with you. I would not pay the premium on Javonte. I'd even be in favor of throwing that whole backfield. But if I am taking 2, it's the later 2, because I expect one to have some kind of value in a role there. Javonte Williams was not Sean Payton's guy, but like you said, Sean Payton does run the ball in his former years with 2 running backs. So maybe it could be McLaughlin and Estime, because Estime could be a good, first, second down guy too. So Scary time to be Javonte Williams over there in Denver. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, and anybody who owns him in Dynasty, you're at that spot. You're just kind of stuck with him.
Yeah, unfortunately. But hey, time heals everything. Time's going to tell us which way this backfield is going to go. All we can do is try to be as quick on it when the news breaks. So keep you posted on that in the future. And our last segment here is going to be an IDP injury I want to talk about. But before I talk about guy in Seattle, I wanted to mention that I mentioned the IDP rookie guide. Now I'm going to mention the IDP Plus site subscription. So if you are not already subscribed to us, you can get your first month of IDP Premium, IDP Plus Premium access for only $1 for that first month. So listen, we're not just pretty faces here at the IDP Plus team. We have an entire suite of tools and rankings for both offense and defense, plus rookie rankings, injury trackers, snap tools, premium articles, and more. Right now, get your first month for just $1 with the promo code MOCKDRAFT when you check out. So again, go to the website. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe, check out, and make sure you use the promo code MOCKDRAFT, and you'll get that first month for only $1. So moving into our IDP segment here, we have Jerome Baker. This is recent news. He's supposed to be he's supposed to be idle coming off offseason wrist surgery. He also has lower body injuries, whatever that means. But Jerome Baker, this is a guy that I liked a lot. You know, this is a sleeper when we talk redraft and maybe even more dynasty because of his age and coming off an injury and a new team too. But Jordan Brooks is not there right now. It looks like it's going to be Jerome Baker and what's his name? Tyrell Dodson. Is the two inside backers there in Seattle. So I'm kind of interested to see where this goes for Jerome Baker. I still like him. This is still definitely a guy I'm interested in as far as redraft. And if I have shares in in Dynasty, I'm definitely not cutting. I'm definitely not sweating it too much yet. But at the same time, Jerome Baker is definitely coming off an injury, and then to have another injury ravaged training camp is not good news. And one silver lining out of this is I think if I'm an IDP, especially a dynasty manager right now, I'm going ahead and adding, if he's not already owned, is Tyrese Knight out of UTEP. I saw on Twitter they have him in Seattle as an inside backer right now, but they said when guys get healthy, when Baker comes back, he's going to move outside. Now, I just want to say with Seattle's linebackers, I know it's a new coaching regime, and maybe that breaks the trend, but I really liked Seattle's rookie linebackers they've had. I mean, I want to say like back in 2017, 2018, they drafted a guy, Ben Burkervin, who really popped off in the training camp and preseason. I really like Ben Burkervin. Unfortunately, never got a shot. I like Cody Barton. They drafted him. He was a beast in college, and then he really didn't get a shot his rookie year. It took a couple years, but when he did, he's solid now. So maybe Tyrese Knight, the jury's still out. Is he going to be Ben Burkervin or is he going to be Cody Barton in his career? I'm not sure. But I definitely think with new coaching regime here in Seattle, you have Jerome Baker, who's going to be their best linebacker, and he's already hurt. Tyrese Knight is definitely somebody who is on the map for me. It's definitely as far as dynasty. And maybe if this situation gets worse before it gets better, Tyrese Knight is a name who's going to be talked about in redraft. Who knows? So just trying to stay on top of things for you on the defensive side. Jerome Baker's supposed to be out till training camp. Hopefully for him, training camp comes and, all is well. And then Tyrese Knight goes back to being the number 3 linebacker there. But definitely, and at the same time, Tyrell Dodson, I still don't know who he is. Is he the guy who excelled in a limited role last year, or is he the guy who really never capitalized on the opportunity before that? So they don't have much experience with him. They did bring him in for a reason, but Tyrese Knight, I think for one way or another, will get his shot this year. Steve, do you have any shares of Jerome Baker out there?
I do. He was great for Miami, man. I liked him a lot.
I think he could have a nice role here, like maybe 80+ tackles, 6 or more sacks. What do you see out of him this year?
He's going to be a good redraft player because of the injury. You can get him, I think, at a later round and actually end up being a steal for you because you didn't have to spend a lot. He's one of those guys that you could easily grab, like I said, really late, and I think he'd do well. It's funny because one of my IDP leagues that I've been doing forever, two of my league mates are Dolphin fans, so I don't know. They know who he is. They're not going to forget it, so they may end up grabbing him before I do. But I think he's a nice little steal because of the injury. And I think he rolls into a good spot with Seattle. I mean, they've went through some big linebacker changes, from Brooks and Wagner and stuff like that. So there's definitely an opportunity and opening to have a guy who's going to get you. I think he can even get to that 100 tackle range. I mean, that's he's done that in the past. There's no reason why he can't now.
Right. Absolutely. So we're wishing the best for Jerome Baker. At the same time, Tyrese Knight, put him on your watch list if you don't know the name. And thank you for rocking with us. We are going to close it at that segment for the night, and we want to wish you a happy rest of your short May that's left, about an hour left, and we will see you in June. So thank you for rocking with us, and bless up.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.